Hello, and welcome to the Danswers podcast live. I'm coming at you live. Look at this. See this hand moving? I mean, if you're listening to the audio, you can't see the hand moving, but that's my real hand. Okay. That's no robot. That's no artificially intelligent hand. At least I hope not. Who knows? Who knows what parts of our body are ours and what parts of our bodies are a simulation? We've made Drake songs out of thin air. Okay? We have no idea what is true and what is not. If you can make a Drake song out of thin air, those eyes in your head might be a computer. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. It's nice to be here. It's nice to be speaking with all of you. I'm happy to be doing it live. If you have any questions, you can throw it in the chat. If you're listening to this after we did the episode, just know that supporting this podcast, listening to it, asking me questions are some of the most mentally ill and yet dedicated people I have ever met. I've ever had the pleasure and passion of knowing. I've had a really gorgeous day, and I'm going to say why. I drove by the studios, and there are writers on strike. There are writers striking in Hollywood. I don't know if you've heard. I don't know if you've seen the news. And there's a big, huge picket line of writers. And what was beautiful about it is not just that a union is striking. I'm generally almost always in support of that. I like it when there's unions. My mom was part of a union my whole life. She was part of a bricklayers union. Okay. She was not part of the. I wish she was part of the writers union. I'm going to say this very clearly for everyone. Her being in the bricklayers union has not helped my comedy career in the way that I hoped it would. Okay. I was hoping my mom being in the bricklayers union would give me a real leg up in the comedy clubs. And I'll tell you why. Most comedy clubs have a brick wall backdrop. I mean, put two and two together. I could have been on late night, okay? But for some reason it didn't pan out like that. But I was around union meetings my whole life. And I was around the people who were in unions. It was the bricklayers union. I would go to that when I was a little kid. My mom was the only woman there that wasn't someone's wife or baby mama, and it was beautiful. It was very nice. So I'm a big fan of unions in general. So I'm driving down Hollywood Boulevard, and I see the writers' union strike, and there's a beautiful thing about the writer's strike, where when you look at the people, you don't even need to read the signs. You go, those are writers. I know exactly what union that is. That is the writers union. I know that they are not bricklayers. And I have a lot of writers in my life, you know. I would consider myself a not a WGA writer. Okay, I'm also not going to scab, so I won't be writing anything. My writers are going on strike as well. I have a team of writers that support me for the Dancers podcast. They won't be helping me anymore. I want you to know that this is all me. This is all off the top of the dome now. You look at the writers on strike and you go, this could be no union other than the writers union. And it makes them brave in a way. I'm going to tell you this. I'm not trying to disparage writers. I stand behind them because I see them in the sun and I see how uncomfortable most of them are in the sun. Okay? And that's how you know they're legit. Listen. I don't want a writer that also like surfs. You know what I'm saying? I don't want a writer that also is like playing beach volleyball on the weekends. No, you look at these people and you go, you are a writer. This is your calling. You're wearing two different kinds of orthopedic shoes right now to march for your rights, and I appreciate that. I love that. They did it's so funny. Reading about it, you just go, oh my God, these studio heads are so crazy. Because some people are complaining because they're like, oh, writers get paid well. And it's like, yeah, a lot of writers get paid well, but a lot of them, you know, kind of they're not getting paid as well as they could be. And what you're looking at is you're looking at the proportion they're getting paid as it relates to the studio heads and the executives and stuff, and you see the kind of money that they're making. And it's like, oh yeah, something is askew here. Because people are acting like, oh, why are these writers striking? Like, as though if the writers don't get more money, that money is going to go directly to an orphanage or something. Like that money is going to go directly to the bricklayers union. It's like, no, that money is going to go to the head of a studio that's trying to build a second solid gold pool, because the first solid gold pool is too old fashioned now. But yeah, you see the kind of money some of these studio heads are making. It's like, Jesus. And the big thing that they're talking about is they're talking about AI, and the writers, rightfully so. Okay, this is why a union exists, is because if something funky is happening, and that is not the technical term, there is I'm sure a better term for it, but I'm going to use the word funky. If something's funky is happening, you can collect as workers and go, hey, we got a question about this. What's going on with this? And as technology is improving rapidly, which it is, and there's a lot of businesses that are dealing with this. A lot of workers have a lot of questions. It's great to be a part of a union because the union, I guess, like basically in their negotiations, asked to be assured that AI would not be used to take their jobs. Pretty reasonable ask from a group of workers, right? And the studio responds, we will not agree to not use AI, but we can chat about it. We can have a, but here's what we'll do. Okay, counteroffer. I will sit down and talk to you about it. I will sit down and probably explain to you why you will be losing your job to a robot. But won't it be nice to talk to me about it? Won't it be nice to sit down and have a little chat about this? Now, listen, I know that your entire livelihood has the potential of being uprooted by technology, and I know that you want to be assured that that technology will not completely take everything from you and leave you with nothing. I will counteroffer that by saying a spot of tea, perhaps. How that meeting would just go, the head of the the head of the company, who I think also owns ExxonMobil. I'm going to say he probably also owns ExxonMobil, is going to just sit down across from some, like, writer, and the writer is like, can you let me know that the reboot of iCarly will not be written by the Terminator? And the studio executive is just hinting his finger, and he's going, interesting question. Can we move this meeting forward a couple of days? But yeah, I don't know. I definitely feel bad for everybody who's like affected by this. It's not just writers, it's the gaffers, it's the sound people, and it blows. But hey, who's to say that a robot's not going to be doing that in a few years? Who's to say a robot will not be smoking the cigarettes in between takes? Okay, they could teach a robot how to do that, and that's pretty scary. That's pretty frightening to me. Okay, what else did I do today? Oh, I was driving past the writer's strike. And let me also say this about the writer's strike before I keep going. Let me say this: the writer's strike, the people in the writer's strike seem to have a very good mood about things. And I think that's important. I think it's good to have a good mood. And they're bringing their dogs, and it seems to be like sort of a jubilant experience. I say there should be, if I have any notes, I would say add a little bit, just a touch of desperation. Okay, because when people are walking by and they're seeing you smiling, that's good, and it's a good sign. I'm not saying all of you need to be. I like, keep that up. I want two writers dressed like 1920s train hoppers. Do you know what I'm saying? I want at least two writers with like what do they look, a bindle, like they have a bindle attached to a string. Do you know what I'm saying? Bindle attached to a string, and their boot, like part of their boot is ripped up. You take the front part of their boot and you rip it up, and they're wearing pants that are mended with a handkerchief. Just two writers dressed up like that, and I think it would help a lot. I think it would definitely help the case. I was driving to my friend who is staying at his friend's place, which is not a mansion in the Hollywood Hills. People get carried away when they use the word mansion nowadays. And I'll tell you why. It's because a regular house now costs as much as a mansion did like 10 years ago. So this is what's even more concerning. I was in a house that cost as much as a mansion. I was in a $10,000 regular ass house in the Hollywood Hills. But I realized walking around there, it has been so long since I have been in even a home. Is anyone else like that? I don't know if this is relatable. I'm sure some of you might visit your family. Some of you own homes of yourself, which that's very impressive. It's so rare that I am inside of a home. It like breaks my brain when I'm in one. I look around and I go, oh my God. Wait, there's a room and then there's another room and those two rooms aren't attached? There's a door separating two rooms in your house? What is this? Is this the start of the French Revolution that I'm witnessing? But yeah, it's interesting being inside a house, seeing how other people live, seeing how much better it is than you. Oh, somebody asked, or somebody said, the last writer's strike, we saw the rise in reality TV. Yeah, isn't that an issue? You have, because people aren't going to be writing TV shows, so you're going to see the rise in a lot of stuff. I wonder if maybe Netflix is going to pick up some of my TikToks, okay? And I will not scab. I will not scab. I'm going to make that very clear. I will not scab unless the amount of money is over $120. In which case, who am I to say how I'm going to react? Okay? Who am I to say how I am going to react if you put enough money in front of me to get half a grocery orders from Whole Foods once? Who am I? I'm not Jesus Christ up here. Okay? I'm not a perfect man. But yeah, they're gonna have a lot more scripted TV, or not a lot more unscripted TV, and that's gonna be an issue. We're gonna come because they're already making stuff like a bread centered dating show. Like these, we've jumped the shark so many times. I'll say, Love is Blind is up there. You know what they should do? Okay, here's a reality TV show idea. And you can't steal this. And if I see it, this is copyrighted. Okay? I'm going to tell you right now, this is copyrighted. You know Love is Blind. Love is Blind is a show where they take people, right? Normal. You know what? It's good because it's not like all supermodels in Love is Blind. I like it because it's all people who are maybe one step above regular looking, right? They're like one notch above regular looking. And they put them all in a house, and you have to pick which one you want without seeing them. Like you have a date with a mirror you can't see through, and then you have to see if you love that person, right? Here's my show idea. Love can't smell. Love can't smell. Here's what Love Can't Smell is. Love Can't Smell is going to be a show where you get to see people. You can fuck them. You can fuck these people. You can suck and fuck them. But your nose is completely plugged up. We're going to block the olfactory system. And you need to pick a partner, but it is guaranteed that one person in this house smells like shit. Ooh. Because listen, I'm a guy that looks like he smells bad, but I actually don't smell that bad a lot of the time. So you have to kind of pick which person smells bad based off their overall vibe. Like you're talking to somebody, you're not going to be asking them like, "Oh, do you work out or not?" like that. Well, no, that one would help. People who work out tend to be a little stinky, but also people who work out can also overcompensate and smell really good because they know that they're stinky. You know, it would be a good question. Oh yeah, hey, yeah, Brenda. Oh, it's so good meeting you. Yeah. So, have you ever been to a music festival? Ooh, that's a good one. There's one guy I used to know when I was a kid. He's a very talented musician. He was a lot cooler than I was, I felt. But God, was he stinky. White guy with dreadlocks, and he was really, really stinky. White guy with dreadlocks, also big giveaway for stinky. Okay. Not to say all of them are stinky. Maybe two of the guys in Corn smelled pretty good, but that's a real stinky kind of haircut. And so is a mullet. I'm not talking down on anybody. Okay. Yeah, someone in the chat just said musicians tend to smell weird. You're absolutely right. Musicians do tend to, because they're so involved in what they're doing. Okay. I don't hold this against musicians. There's something so cool and like awesome about music. Like it's so just sensual and in the moment. That's the thing. Musicians smell like fucking. That's what a musician smells like. But the issue is you can't smell like fucking at Ruby Tuesday's restaurant. Okay? There's a time and a place. What's the stinkiest instrument? See, the first thing that comes to mind is drums. All right? Because drums, those are the cool guys. Those are the drummers are the guys that I hear women say they tend to want to fuck. Because their arms are moving, right? They're active. You can see those forearm veins. They tend to have a good amount of charisma. Those are drummers. But I would bet it's going to be an instrument you kind of don't know so much about. And also drummers are moving around a lot. They have long hair. They're in the back. They keep the drummer back, like behind the rest of the people, probably because they smell too bad to have them in front. A drummer's ass might be one of the stinkiest possible things on this planet, right? Someone in the chat said lead singers, they never have time to dip out and take a shower. Lead singer is not a bad idea, but I feel like lead singer is they're so in front of people. They're so they're such a meet and greet kind of position to have in the band. I don't think the lead singer would be the stinkiest. Bass, maybe. Bass is the biggest wild card in a band. A bass player can be the shy, quiet guy, or it can be the psychopath. You never know who the bass player is going to be. But I would say probably your average oboe player is going to smell worse than all those people. Because if you're good at the oboe, you have a skill that is not recreatable by like. I feel like if you're the best oboe player in the world, you have such a high amount of swagger and confidence. Because if you're a really good guitar player and you go to a party, you're like, there's going to be another guitar player there. There's going to be 3 other guitar players there. And they're, all those guys are probably going to be like, oh yeah, I've played for, and you're just going to be, if you're the best oboe player, there's not going to be a single person at that party that even knows what your instrument is. There's a level of power to that. It's like how now being a stand-up comedian means nothing. I'm a stand-up comedian, right? I've headlined, right? I've also done quinceañeras. So I'm not getting carried away with myself. I have headlined and I have low-lined. I'm going to call it that. Next time I do a bad show, I'm going to call it low-lining. But being a stand-up comic has lost its luster because there's so many stand-up comics now. There's 40,000 stand-up comics in my apartment building. Everyone in my apartment building has either done stand-up comedy or is actively doing stand-up comedy or wants to do stand-up comedy. I'm not disparaging anyone from following their dreams. I would never do that. That is not my position. That is not my place in this world. I do not want to diminish your dreams. But I will say the gravity of telling someone I am a stand-up comedian has diminished to such an insane level that it has actually come all the way back around. It's on its way. It's on its way to coming all the way back around to being cool again, because it's like, oh, you really don't give a shit about what I think about you, that you just told me that you're a stand-up comic. You are so nonchalant. You are so not it's wild. It's like saying you play the acoustic guitar in, like, the late 90s. It's just everybody's at it. But anyway, I respect the sneaky community. I wanna make that clear. But when we make this reality TV show, this is how you make a reality TV show these days now too, because it used to be able, you used to be able to just a reality TV show was just exploiting people, right? It was just baseline exploitation. You take these people that have decent personalities, usually they're usually relatively compelling, and you put them through hell, and you make them all hate each other, and you turn that into a TV show. But now there has to be sort of an angle of, like, this is the good part of people are like, oh, TV is so PC, blah, blah, blah. Here's the good part of that. You can't just put a camera in someone's face and have them act like an idiot and then put it, because, like, here's what I'm saying. To do Love is Stinky, we would have to have a really sympathetic moment in the show where the stinky person is like, this is what socioeconomic factors and life experiences and just sort of baseline issues led me to be so stinky. And we would have to have empathy for the stinky. You would leave Love is Stinky going, maybe stinky people aren't that bad. And I think that's important. As a stinky person myself, I think that's important. Someone in the chat said, I'm down for being exploited by TLC. TLC is the one game in town that can still do it. But even TLC has to be like, oh, no, we have a message. It's like, oh, really? TLC, do you have a message? Really, do you think people are walking away from your show with a gained level of empathy for people? Maybe some are. But if you're saying that's the point of your programming, TLC, I got a couple questions for that. TLC is about to be the only game in town. TLC is, I mean, talk about a company that is unaffected by writing. TLC lets Mother Nature do their writing. TLC, God is TLC's writer. You know what I'm saying? But I do hope these writers get paid. I do not like reality TV. I do like scripted stuff. In fact, I don't even really watch scripted TV. I like YouTube documentaries. That's sort of what I'm into. I like a good Adam Curtis documentary, but I'm sure he has people helping him write those. So shout out to the writers. I'm sorry that you all have to be in the sun. I'm sorry that you're all outside. You don't belong there. You don't. But the fact that you're out there it's a sign of bravery, and you should be proud of yourselves. Thank you, everybody, for joining the live. I will do a better job promoting it next time. Please subscribe to the channel. It really helps out. And thank you for talking with me. Have a good one.